Surprise! It's me. We've just shifted around a little bit because we have a very special guest in the studio. Please welcome Luke Lancaster from PAX. He is the content manager. Welcome to Back Pocket.
I haven't done anything yet, don't clap.
Well, we're just happy that you're here.
Yeah, it's setting up expectations.
Many members of our community have obviously been to PAX, love PAX, but some people actually haven't. So just like a brief overview of PAX is that it is an expo that was kind of born from the Penny Arcade comic.
Yeah. So if you've heard of the Penny Arcade webcomic, it's just like about all kinds of different gaming. And 15 years ago, I think the first Penny Arcade Expo was in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Since then, it's expanded to like 5 different shows, 4 in the US. We're lucky enough to have the only international one down in Melbourne. It is just a huge convention that we like to say it's all kinds of games for all kinds of gamers.
Yeah.
So like we want to welcome everyone into the show. We want to hit every passion, any kind of thing could have anything to do with gaming.
I love that we are the only international. It speaks so well of the Australian gaming community that we have like a big enough love for video games and the community around video games here that we have the only international PAX
and
here.
I can say without bias, it's the best one.
It's a little bit biased. I love that internationally, if you look at a world map, it's a stretch to be like, there's all the original PAXs, and then you went as far on a map, or they went as far as they could on a map to put one on the other corner of the globe entirely.
We are several thousand kilometers south of PAX South, which I find...
Jesus. Yeah, that is weird. What's that about?
We're Oz. It's
yeah, we need rebranding.
PAX South-ish kind of thing.
PAX Souther.
Souther.
South is good.
I like it.
Southest. Unless they have one in the South Pole.
How many gamers are in the South Pole?
Look, we've not done any surveys.
Okay.
Some.
All right, we'll figure that out. Let's just get this one back on track, and then we'll
expand. Expansion plans, Antarctica 2022.
Okay, good.
PAX Pole.
So you are the content manager for PAXAUS?
Yes, I am.
Leaving the previous sort of dumpster fire of a year behind for a second, what does that involve for you, like throughout the year, and how has it been as an experience for you, like up until this point?
It's been the best job I've ever had and probably will ever have, honestly. So what I actually get to do with the show is make it the experience for anyone who comes through the door. So obviously we've got a full team of incredibly talented and passionate people who work on PAX. What I'll be doing is like putting together panels, all the free play sessions and tournaments, all of our like foyer game pop-up areas. So pretty much the stuff that happens outside the expo hall is where I'll step in and start working on all the shit that you do at the show that's not on like a PlayStation booth sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
Which is huge considering that, like, PAX in general has always been super community focused. Like, you've have other big sort of like gaming conventions that do have to be really commercially focused. I mean, that's always a part of it. That's the industry. But it's like PAX is the one that everyone walks out of grinning ear to ear because they're like, I made new friends. I found things I would have never found that I wouldn't have seen an ad for on a bus. It's like all those little things add up to make a PAX experience that everyone finds so joyous. And that's basically your role. You are responsible for that.
Like PAX just lives and dies by its community.
Yeah.
It is what it is because of the people who go and make it what it is.
And to not anger that community, Phoenix Alone in the chat said, can you please use your power to ban Rasputin from the Just Dance booth this year?
There are some things that are beyond even my power. I tried to ban Country Roads in 2019.
Did you really?
And no one listened to me.
Why? Because you're a monster?
No, because it had its time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but that's only because, isn't it because, who sings Country Roads? John Denver.
John Denver.
Isn't it because he died and he never licensed his music out? And then the family were like,
let's cash it.
What's in that fucking fortune? Like, Country Roads was in every movie for like a 2-year period. Yeah, you had John Denver songs everywhere.
So it's a huge community event. Obviously, loads of panels. There's fun stage shows, indie games to try, tabletop games, art, cosplay. What has been the most exciting community initiative you've seen come out of the kind of process of organizing PAX?
I think it's so hard to like pick your favorite child. I'm
It's not. Actually, I've got 2 and I know mine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Then I will. I'm going to play favorites with this. The thing that I think I'm most proud of is bringing the PAX Collaboratory to the show, because that's since launched at a few of the overseas PAXs, but we got to do it
nice,
first.
Nice.
And that's something that we kind of came up with locally a few years ago, and it's a space in our tabletop area for tabletop designers who are working on their games. So these are all unreleased, unpublished games still in the process of being designed. And the idea is you just open the doors and playtest with the community.
That's so cool.
Brilliant.
Wow.
So like it's kind of an extension of what we do in PAX Rising, but very tabletop focused because I love board games. They're my biggest like kind of gaming thing, and just being able to do that and being able to like see the tabletop design community locally start to grow from that has been really, really cool.
Yeah,
The tabletop area of PAX is probably my favorite part of the whole thing, I think. It's because when I think about my memories of PAX, it's always in that space. It's like, that's where I discovered Secret Hitler and sat down with people and played that for the first time. There's always something obscure that you can try. There are people who will just be willing to teach you things because everyone there is super passionate about the games that they love. And it's just like this coming together of people. There was even like, there was one year I went and I didn't know how to play. There was like a sort of a CCG and it might have even been Magic the Gathering. And somebody was like, we'll just pair you up with someone who's confident with it and they can teach you the game.
Yeah.
And it was just super lovely. And it's just great.
You know what, like when we do live shows or something and you finish and then there's some people like hovering off the side of the stage and you can tell that they want to come up and say hi or something.
Yeah.
That's how I am at the tabletop area of PAX. I'm always the person like hovering off to the side watching someone play a board game. I'm like, and it's like, it's fine, you can sit down.
Oh, no.
And then I sit down and they're like, hi, I'm Matt. I'm like, I love this game.
I love it too. I even tried painting miniatures at the last PAX that I went to, and I sat down and I was like, "This, I've always wanted to try this." And I was like, "This," and I sort of did a few things, and I was like, "This is not for me."
But you wouldn't have known.
Someone fix this.
I had that experience.
There you go.
It's funny though, because like, looking at, as I was saying broadly, like video game focused or gaming focused conventions, gaming is something that a lot of people do in a solitary way. And so sometimes lining up for a booth to play a game is super fun because the game's not out yet and you're really pumped, which is, I know what is part of PAX as well. But you do get there and you stand there in front of it being like, what am I doing? Like there's someone waiting behind me and it's a bit different, but tabletop, board games, all that kind of stuff is so social, and to have an environment that is like, I think, hasn't it like progressively that area has just pushed into the, like taken over more and more floor space?
A little bit. So we get clever with how we lay stuff out and try to add more tables in every year, but it's a little bit full to bursting.
It's nice that I guess PAX is a general feeling of creating a safe space for people who just like the stuff that we like. People always talk about the fact that it's the one time of the year they get to see all their interstate friends because everyone flies to PAX and everyone gets to be together. And of course, you have that wonderful banner when you walk in saying "Welcome Home," which I think is so nice.
Yeah, which is super sweet.
It's just confusing because I'm from Melbourne, so I'm like,
It's calling you back. So obviously, last year PAX couldn't go ahead, but this year we're throwing all of our energy and optimism into a 2021 show. It has been announced for the 8th to the 10th of October. What is this year's show going to look like, and what are the kind of restrictions that are in place currently?
Let's cover off the restriction stuff first because that's the boring bit.
Sure.
We are working super closely with the MCEC, the venue where we host PAX. They
the
are
Melbourne
Convention and Exhibition
Centre. Yeah.
The MC, the macaque.
is it still Jeff's Shed? I thought it was Jeff's
it is
Shed.
Jeff's Shed, but no one outside of Melbourne knows it's called that.
There we go.
Yeah, that didn't
I
make any
didn't
sense
know.
to me.
Yeah. So we're working super closely with them on what restrictions look like in Melbourne for their event space. We are hopeful that as we get closer, restrictions are going to get a little bit eased, but essentially with the MCEC, they have a public safety policy already in place. It's on their website. Go check it out. And they will have their own kind of terms of entry that we will help support and abide by where it comes to like quarantine and symptoms and all that kind of stuff. So obviously our first priority when it comes to that is being as safe as possible for everyone who is there, whether it comes to like us, implementing social distancing stuff or like remote queuing or whatever. Like we are going to be a safe show because that's what matters most in us delivering it.
And is that going to affect like amount of exhibitors and like show floor?
So at this stage, probably not. But again, it's October. We can't say for sure exactly what we will have to change. But at this point, we're looking like if we need to take more space and just make like aisleways between things bigger, that's what we'll look at doing.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But
And so, the thing you're looking at there is just expanding what's currently the planned space and not downsizing it. It's just basically taking up more space. So, as a positive.
And will it be, like you said, all of this is in flux depending on what happens, but is there still the plan for the same sort of stuff when it comes to like the auditorium panels and all that sort of thing happening?
Yeah, so still going to run, I think we're up to 8 theatres now. Something really exciting that we got to do last year for PAX Online was run completely online theatres, obviously, where we had people like live streaming in or doing pre-records. We're going to do that again this year. So we're going to just run a stream alongside the show for people, especially international people, who won't be able to make it. So like, why not?
Yeah,
right?
cool.
Like we can do it. So
That's
let's
great.
do it. We'll have all our regular theatres. Like we might need to do distance seating in those, but again, we'll know when we're closer to.
Yeah,
it.
cool.
I was watching Montaigne's Eurovision entry, which she performed at Mardi Gras in a big stadium, and all the comments underneath, obviously there's global comments from everyone who loves Eurovision, are just like, look at Australians all in their stadium, just flaunting their togetherness.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like we're pretty fortunate in that regard. I feel like also, you know, I just recently went to sort of Oz Comic Con's little pop-up thing, and I feel like where PAX is probably a little bit more fortunate is that it's less reliant on international guests and stuff like that. So that it's more about the local community and doesn't kind of hinge on having international people. But it's cool to know that they'll be sort of streaming in and stuff.
Yeah. We're really excited about that, and just it's always been something that we've wanted to do is just make it more open for people to participate, like not having the financial barrier of having to go to Melbourne to do it.
Yeah.
And like now we've got a really good reason that we can just do it because we've done it and it worked. So
Yeah, cool.
let's do it again. But to answer the other side of that, like what we want to do with PAX this year is bring PAX back. Like we're not going to reinvent the wheel. Like it's a pretty good show.
Can confirm.
Like what we're working on like a direction level on improving certain areas of the show. We want to roll out some more cosplay stuff. We're expanding what we do with Diversity Lounge, the new branding around that is PAX Together. So we're bringing in a few more different interest and advocacy groups to help those efforts. We are expanding a few tabletop things. So again, kind of trying to help the design community in Australia kind of get a leg up because that's where it's going to grow from if it grows here. What else? We're looking at rolling out new ways for especially content creators to take part in the show at kind of that mid-tier level because they have communities they want to connect with. So how can we facilitate that? So we got.
Do you have anything that you can announce with the ways that that's working?
Well, you were just at Comic-Con. They did something really cool where they had like creator spaces.
Yep.
So probably something similar
I
to
saw that. A lot of
And-
sort of TikTok sort of stars and stuff like that work.
and like we've always run streaming pods.
I was gonna
for
say you had the
content
Twitch
creators,
stuff and-
yeah,
yeah.
to kind of like expand on that. And
Yeah,
make it
okay,
a
cool.
destinational hub. Like we've got the tabletop hall, and we know content creators are like a huge thing now. How do we make that sort of like a destination space at PAX?
Yeah,
as
that's a
well?
really good idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
And what about panels? How does the panel submission process go? Because there's always quite a broad range of panels, not just like sort of a larger name people or things like that. What is that process, and like how does it get approved and why?
So
And when? Sorry, I'm just going to...
it opened. No, it's a good question. It's a good question. So the very broad strokes of how it works is a few months before the show, will be completely open for community submission. So if you want to do a panel at PAX, there'll be a thing on our website. It's like, I want to do a panel with these people. This is what it's about. And we completely encourage anyone and everyone, if they've got an idea that they want to do a panel, submit it. Because some of the best stuff we have is from first-time panelists.
Yeah, totally.
From there, we get maybe 3 or 4 times more submissions than we can physically put on a stage. We'll form a panel committee ourselves with myself, a few reps from PAX in the US, a few other local people, and we'll kind of just go through everything that's submitted and decide what we like and what we don't like. Or not what we don't like, what doesn't really fit.
You can be honest, it's okay.
Again, it's picking favorite children.
But some of those children suck.
Some of them won't get a panel at PAX.
Nicholas, leave the poor man alone.
Once we've done that, we kind of look at how many panels do we have every day about tabletop?
Yeah.
How
Sure,
many
yeah.
do we have
Totally.
about diversity?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many,
Sometimes it's just about
industry focusing?
repetition and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of work out what gaps we need to fill in the schedule, what we feel like is being underserved, where we have developer talent or streamers or someone coming in that want
Totally.
to do panels, and we'll kind of hands-on curate about a quarter of it on top of that. And then obviously we have international guests coming in and marquee stuff like Acquisitions Incorporated, all the Penny Arcade content, like our keynote speaker. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Majority is community submission. The rest of it is just hands-on what we feel the show needs.
Yep.
From a from a stage content perspective. In terms of what gets up, like if it sounds fun, because we're really judging by who's on the panelist list and whether they've done stuff before, how funny the title is and how funny the description is.
Totally. Yeah.
If it sounds like it's going to be a good time, it'll probably get up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every panel I've done at PAX, because it's either been good gamey style, like Q&A and that sort of thing, or just like insane food fight style, like so much fun, and things that you just go so off the rails in the most wonderful.
We did one where we just drank a bunch and played.
I remember this one.
That wasn't in
Yeah.
the, was that in the
Sea of
title, or
Thieves
was
one.
it
It was the
just...
Sea of Thieves one.
It was the
Yeah,
Sea of Thieves
Because you were
one.
so drunk, I brought you all food.
Yeah.
I like that everyone
Right.
remembered
That
it
was
but
crazy.
you. You're like, no, I don't remember doing that at
No,
all.
I'm fairly certain the panel was actually just an hour and a half black. There was just nothing there.
It was like it was a drinking game, and we were singing. Yeah, that was
Sea shanties, they're not
You
in
had
anymore,
this-
unfortunately.
This punch bowl filled with the most vile grog.
It was really bad.
I love that you've set this. The setup now is that people are coming up with humorous titles and adding more things, literally adding hoops
Yeah.
to jump through. So the submissions you're looking forward to this year are like all these extra caveats of while drinking, while food fighting, while jumping through hoops, while singing sea shanties, and it's all about
But you want to handle your own production, that's fine.
Interesting.
I think the other big draw card for PAX is PAX Rising.
Yes.
PAX plays a pretty important role in, I guess, providing a platform for indie developers to get their games in front of people. How do you work with indie devs to kind of give them that opportunity?
So the way PAX Rising works is it's our big collection of subsidized, like we make it as cheap as we possibly can as an opportunity for independent developers to bring their games to PAX. It's a huge area. It's right inside the front doors on the expo hall. We get around 80 devs, and again, that's kind of application process. Once we go live, sign up for it. We'll do a little bit of curation on the kinds of games that come in, because we want to accept people who are going to get the most out of it. So we want to make sure your game is at a certain level. And recently we've started working with like the state government groups who represent like developers in their respective states.
Yeah, great.
On how they can do other support, whether that's travel or subsidizing cost of booths or whatever, just to make it as representative and as accessible to devs all around Australia as we can.
That's awesome.
Some of the my favorite games that I've come across. Part of it is that you came across them as well. Is that no one
Yeah.
pointed you in the direction, and it's like coming across some of the games that I've found over the years of going to PAX as well that were such little charmers that have like maybe, as we said before, like one or two little mechanics, but just draw the crowd. Like you can literally go to those areas and just.
Did you
look
guys
for
play
the mobs.
Talking Simulator that year that it was on the
Yes.
floor?
Yes.
No.
Far out. That was so funny.
Sounds like a game I'd struggle with a
Yeah.
little bit. I played the like wacky wavy inflatable fighting guys. There was like a kitten game on an iPad where you just had to like keep away from kittens and just like, but they would just draw these crowds and you're like, what is everyone looking at? And then it was just the nicest way to find something organically.
I saw in the chat, Mr. Pokey Lope MD, which is a great name, said, will there be more indies since it's harder for international biggies to have a presence?
We'll kind of play that by ear as things skate out, but most of the big internationals that you're thinking of will have local offices anyway.
Totally.
So
Sure.
like your
Yeah.
PlayStations, your Nintendos, they've got local reps.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at dramatically changing what our model is, but if we've got more space for indies, we'll open up for more indies.
Cool.
Awesome. We have a bunch of questions from the Discord, but just before we get to those, just like in terms of boring logistics, you're sort of doing a staggered ticket approach throughout the year.
Yeah, so that is pretty much directly in line with the MCEC capacities. So we're not going to get to a point where we sell more tickets than we can fit people in the building.
Yeah.
And as that goes up, and it has been going up over the past few weeks, we'll increase what our ticket threshold is.
Right. And we're sort of encouraging people to book flights and accommodation, but like with various flexibility options and stuff just in case.
Yeah.
Great. My last question before we move on is, how did the pin thing start? Because it's kind of like this like post-apocalyptic currency.
Can we bring in another guest?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want me to
Well, she doesn't want to come on, but
come in. No, we should.
me to
we
tag
should,
out?
we should. No, I'll jump out. Like,
no. We'll just
hang
switch
on.
over. Yeah, look, squidge, just squidge.
okay.
Oh, I've got nowhere to squitch. Like I'm
I've
literally
been on
never
the show
go.
20 minutes. I'm bringing guests on.
That's fine.
So this is Alyssa Grant from Penny Arcade, who, among other things, runs the pin program.
Oh, right.
This is the person you should be talking to.
Like a specialized question. Yeah, amazing.
Well, thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it. So the PIN program started years and years ago. It was basically Mike Rahulik who started it. He saw the Disney PIN program, which was a very big collectible program where people like to trade and purchase these pins and celebrate, different IPs based off of these pins. And so he saw the Disney program and said, we should do that, but for games. So that's when it launched for the Penny Arcade program. And ever since then, we've had dozens of pins for every single show. We have people that want to celebrate, different games by wearing these pins. There are pins that are worth, over $1,000.
I was going to say, because Steph mentioned, it's almost a currency in itself when you see people, the trading and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We got Lion again in the chat screaming at you. Hi, Alyssa, you've cost me £1,000.
we got mobbed with our pin chickens when we did
the pin chicken was a
right. And for anyone who doesn't know, that was an ibis, which is referred to as a bin chicken, which then was turned into a pin. Cleverly, the pin chicken. They are worth a lot, or they're hard to come by. You're saying?
Well, we don't have any left.
Fair enough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than seeing someone with a lanyard that is just packed with pins. And it's just like that lanyard tells a story of many PAXs experienced and many good times shared.
Yeah. Well, and that's the wild thing is that so many people will just come to the show just for pins. And their community now is just the pin community.
They're like, oh, you guys play video games here. That's cool.
My favorite thing is the pin tourist. So a bunch of people in the States, will come to Australia and get as many pins as they can, and then go back to the States and sell them all.
That is insane.
Wow.
Because people can't normally come to Australia get all the show pins, but they're such rare collector's items.
Oh, and they don't want to miss out on the full spectrum of pins available. That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's this fellow that goes to all of the PAXs in the States who has a trench coat that weighs, I think, 50 pounds, 60 pounds, but it's all pins.
Wow.
He's got every pin, doesn't he?
I believe so.
And he doesn't wear that for 3 days. That's no way to live.
You'd be so worried that one would just fall off or something. That would be.
You get it like a thing, like a bullet belt thing.
Oh, yeah.
You can get locking
Pindalier.
backs.
Yeah, pindalier. Thank you very much.
Pindalier.
Guys, you can't just add pin in front of everything. Is that how this works?
Watch me. You gotta
That's how back pocket
Pinify.
works.
Done it again.
Cool. All right. We've got some great questions from Discord if you guys don't mind asking. Some of these are serious and some of them are fun. The first one is from Ninja Pyru, beloved Pocketeer, who asks, will the company that sells the different flavored licorice be there this year? Because I've been craving them for 2 years now.
One question.
Look, normally we let exhibitors announce their own presence, but it's a pretty safe bet.
Phoenix O'Lion asks, will BYOC, that's Bring Your Own Computer, still run this year?
BYOC is unfortunately something that will probably not be running this year.
Okay.
Simply because it is one of the things that we're looking at in terms of how we allocate rooms and the space that we need to dedicate to certain things.
Because unfortunately, that would also be BYOC, and we don't want that.
No.
Different kinds of C.
Yeah.
Gotcha. The Balance asks, this announcement was made around the same time as Daniel Andrews took a tumble down some stairs. Coincidence? Did you push him?
If I did, would I admit it?
Bloody good answer.
Very evasive.
Ah, good.
That's all I'm going to say. Sus. Seems sus. Doriosaurus asks, what will we be missing out on if we decide to not go in person this year and instead just watch online?
Being part of the best fucking community ever.
Hey.
Seriously.
Now crush the beer and throw it.
I had a question. You probably won't know. Is this the best reason anyone's ever had to try cosplaying and full face cosplaying this year as mask prevention?
We were actually looking at good show floor photos, and we had a bunch of people in Mortal Kombat masks.
I was going to say, Street Fighter, Venga or whatever. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so full mask
Vega.
cosplay, it's going to be so in this year.
Yeah, that's good.
Brilliant. I've always wanted to cosplay, and then this is going to push me over the line.
Nice.
I'm going to hold you to that because we're going. So you are going to cosplay as someone
Just a full
in October.
pockety.
This is so exciting. Chat, remember that.
Yeah.
Gat's one of our mods, asks, as someone who's been an enforcer in the past, enforcers are the volunteers who help run the show, guide people.
More than help. They're the spine of the show. It would not run without them.
The years we've done any panels or anything, there's always this wonderful one or two people who are in charge of helping, and then just they multiply, and suddenly you have this little entourage that are let us get doors and people and move and everything, and you're just like moving on this little like cloud of enforcers. Like not boring. It's just like, and then they move to the next people of a panel, and you're like, they're so
aggressively helpful.
They really are.
So as someone who's been an enforcer in the past, I'm maybe less inclined to want to enforce this year with the obvious risk involved. How is the risk going to be mitigated, and what are you offering for enforcers this year to help calm their fears?
Again, I think all we have to offer right now, very sincerely, is just full compliance with every health and safety measure that we can reasonably adhere to. Where we have gone through and updated our refund policy for anyone who's like quarantine or can't travel through border closures. So check all those details out. Any enforcers who are feeling unwell, like, don't enforce that day. Same for any attendees. If you're not feeling well, don't come to the show unless you've had a test, sort of thing. So if enforcers are closer to the show, need more details on sanitary protocols and like PPE gear, all that kind of stuff, yes, we're going to be providing that kind of stuff. Cool.
Great. Nathan asks, indie booths, are they going to be a limited number compared to previous years? Any support for newer developers who may want to show their game at this year's PAX?
Currently, we're looking at the same number as previous years.
Nice.
Yep.
Excellent. Nicotex asks, as someone who's never been to PAX, why should this year be the year I break the seal?
Because I think after a year off, everyone's going to be breaking a seal.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's another huge part of PAX, at least PAXAUS, obviously, is just like the social experience that spills out from there as well.
Absolutely. There's a whole strip of restaurants and bars kind of on the waterfront just outside the venue. The city itself kind of comes out to play. But
one of my favorite little anecdotes about it is the fact that, I don't know if this will happen this year, obviously date changes, is that often there would be the weekend that it's running is sometimes the weekend that there'd be something on at the Spring Racing Carnival, which is when all the people dress up to go to the horse
people
races.
in cosplay and people in suits equally drunk.
They just but then they like collide on the waterfront. It's like they like come back from the races drunk, and then everyone comes out drunk, and everyone is just looking at each other, going, "What are you dressed as? What's going on?" And then there's this kind of apprehension. And then before you know it, the bars just have everyone like getting along and having this like very awkward experience if you had no idea either event was running.
And also to speak to Nicotex, like, the second best thing about PAX, I think, is the show. The first best thing about PAX is the people who go to PAX. Like, it's legit. You don't.
The best thing is being at the show.
Yeah, like there's nothing. Like, the show is awesome, but there's nothing about the show that tops the feeling of being around everyone at the show. And so it's like every year is the perfect year to go because it genuinely is just such a welcoming experience. And
yeah, like that.
No offense to all the amazing work.
No,
but like that's the draw.
This
right?
is what I meant when I said that it lives and dies by the community.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be a part of something that vibes that strongly.
Totally,
you know?
yeah. And it is wild. Everyone is so friendly. Like, you make new friends, and like, we'll all be there. Tons of our community will be there as well. So you'll get to see everyone in person. Like, we'll do stuff that you will be able to see and come along to and that sort of thing. And then off the back of that, you'll be hanging out with people who went to that and they're like, oh, let's go to this bar and do this, or let's go watch this panel, or let's go play this game or whatever. And it's this snowball of realizing that you haven't slept in 3 days and now, fuck, I need to go home.
I think it's one of those key differences with other shows. Like, the expo closes at 6, but the rest of the show's open until midnight, and people will hang out all night.
Totally. And there's like speed run things that are on, like, and it's like 11:30 at night, and there's these couches set up in like the speed run area, and people are just like watching that happen before they head off to some club or something. Yeah, it's just awesome.
The Sea Shanties panel we ran in 2019.
You were ahead of the curve.
We were ahead of the curve. Like, it was meant to finish an hour and a half before it did, but the venue staff was so into it. It's like, yeah, let's just keep this going.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So good.
I feel like there's a general vibe of like an epic comeback this year that we all are participating in.
Definitely.
And I feel like it's as much about kind of being there to support the show and what is actually a really like wonderful community space for people to like feel good about the stuff that they love and that they're into. So I'm very excited.
But like Luke said, it's to come back with a vengeance. It's that like idea that we all want to do this, and because we've had that year off, that we're just like, I'm pumped to get there, and even if it is me standing there lonely dancing to Rasputin myself, do it.
In cosplay.
Well, thank you so much, Luke, for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me anytime.
Chatting
you,
to us
dude.
in
No, we
community.
really
We're all
appreciate it.
Can't wait
super excited for PAX.
Yeah, can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun.
And
See what I'm wearing.
thank you so much.